Everyone, Boker Tov. So in the Halachot of Siman Reish Mem Chet Gimel, talking about going on a boat on Shabbat, and finishing up almost today, talking about can you get off of the boat on Shabbat. So one more halacha with regards to, we're saying that if you're already on the boat before Shabbat, be it if you were on the Tzorch Mitzvah, which we'll see later that it's really many things could fall into this category. You could even go on a Friday. Regular cases, you could go from Wednesday and earlier. And that means that when the boat is still going and it's going over Shabbat, you're still allowed to stay on the boat. But that is provided that, the Shulchan Aruch adds here, provided that at the time of Shabbat, when Shabbat came in, you were on the boat. Meaning, let's say you're going on a Friday, it's the Tzorach Mitzvah. So maybe I'll go, the boat's leaving Shabbat morning, or the boat's leaving Friday night after Shabbat. Can I go on then? It's the Tzorach Mitzvah. You can't. You have to be on the boat already when Shabbat. So Rav David Yosef in his Sefer Halacha Brura explains, what about people that live in Venice? So I had the zechut or whatever to be in Venice once, and the truth is you can walk everywhere. There's bridges and everything like that. But of course, the mode of transportation is by boat. So if you live in Venice and a person wakes up Shabbat morning, wants to go to the shul in the boat, you can't. Now, if let's say you're on a boat and you spent Shabbat, like when Shabbat came in, you're on the boat when Shabbat came in, you're on the boat, then again, if a goy is operating that boat, which usually in the small boats in Venice, it's a small personal boat, but if a goy is operating that boat, and you spent Shabbat on that boat, at the time when the Shabbat came in, you were there from before Shkia till the stars came out, then you could stay on that boat and the goy could ride you around. So now, you're, let's say back to a regular case. Venice is difficult to go on that boat, but say in a case, the case that comes to mind is the cruise. So you're on the cruise ship, and now you're there when Shabbat starts. Now you're on the ship. Perfect. Can you get off of the boat on Shabbat? And the answer there is that yes, you can get off of the boat. And the thing is that it all needs to be taken care of by the goyim, meaning, and that's the whole thing over here, that the goyim are running it, and they're the majority of the people on the boat, etc., like most cruises. And therefore, when they, take out the escalators, and they deal with everything, it's all basically they're doing it for themselves, and you're also schlepped along. You also happen to be there, so you could benefit from what they're doing for themselves, and then therefore you could get off of the boat on Shabbat. Now, what about getting back onto the boat on Shabbat? So, okay, you could get off of the boat on Shabbat. Now, and even, you got different questions which we won't get into is if the place that you get to doesn't have an eruv. If it's an island, it's considered an eruv. But if it doesn't have an eruv, how do you deal with that? We're not going to get into that. But now, they drop you Shabbat morning, it's 10 in the morning, and they say, okay, everyone can get off the boat, we're going to be at this island for 8 hours, come back on. It's still Shabbat. Can I get off the boat? Okay, so we could get off the boat. Can I get back on the boat? Or do I need to stay on the boat the whole time? Because it's still Shabbat when I get back on the boat. So there is where there's a question, and Ashkenazim are lenient in this type of situation, but Sfaradim could rely on that leniency. And the case would be as follows, brought down in the Ramah, that we said that you have to be on the boat at the time that Shabbat comes in. So he says that there were some people that, let's say, they knew that the boat is leaving Shabbat morning and run by goyim, etc. So I guess they had early access. They could go on the boat when Shabbat starts. They're going to be on the boat that whole time when Shabbat starts, do kiddush there, etc. They would go home, sleep at home, walk back the next morning, Shabbat morning, go back onto that boat, and they could continue. They could go on that boat traveling like that. Because at the time that Shabbat started, they were on the boat. They made in a way that is their house. So again, they were sitting on the boat Friday night. It was docked. They made kiddush there. They spent Shabbat just when Shabbat came in. Went back home to sleep. Maybe they even prayed Shabbat morning, whatever it was. Shabbat afternoon, they knew that boat is leaving. They could get back onto the boat and continue going, provided that they were on the boat when Shabbat came in. So that leniency that the Ramah brings down, if need be, it's a tough situation, whatever, we could rely on that, says the Kaf HaChaim, then therefore that could be in the situation. You're on a cruise ship, and now it docks on Shabbat, so you could get off, and you could, because you did the Friday night, you brought in Shabbat when you were on the boat, you could get back onto the boat on Shabbat as well. Okay, so that's that regarding that. There's still one more halacha which we'll say for tomorrow regarding this, but that is how to operate when it comes to a cruise. Of course, if one plans this, there's a few other questions that come to mind to speak to your local rabbi about it when that comes into play. Mincha tonight at 6:45. We're heading to the cemetery this morning after Tefillah for 9 a.m. at Pardes Shalom for the end of Shiva service for Mr. Abba Rochana. B'Alav Shalom, anyone could join. I think they should be having a minyan, but if anyone could join, that'd be great. And of course, there's still some room left for the Hilulah. If numbers have to get into the caterer, probably today's your last day to sign up. Okay, have a good day, everyone. 6:45 Mincha.